Coming up next on Public Access TV is Fan to Fan, a half-hour sports interview show with host Dave Hornfischer, that's me, along with two board members of the BoSox Club, the official Red Sox fan club since 1967. Stay tuned. This will fan your interest in the Red Sox, and it might turn your socks red. Welcome to Fan, a sports interview show whose focus is on all things sports. I'm your host, Dave Hornfischer. As a show whose purpose is to promote the wide variety of sports, the BoSox Club, the official Red Sox fan club since 1967, is a perfect vehicle for baseball fans, especially those of the Red Sox. Starting as a kid myself and developing a lifelong passion for both, I was excited to join the BoSox Club 17 years ago. Today I'm pleased to welcome two leaders of the current club, 2024 Vice Presidents Steve Merritt and Richard Correia. Steve, Rich, welcome to Fan. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Steve back for the second time from 4 years ago, and welcome, Rich.
Thank you.
Well, before we get to this, it's now the end of June 2024, and the young, speedy Red Sox are surging. I think they're catching some people's interest. Do you guys think this is a surprise? Is this going to last? Or are we being sucked in again, as my son used to tell me?
I would just say I think it will last, but I think it's a long-term thing. I don't think they're still not necessarily on track to win the World Series this year, but they're building, and they got a great farm team, which we met some of the young players this spring, and it just seems to be there's a plethora of talent coming up.
Yeah.
But speed doesn't rest, so speed doesn't slump, I guess is the word.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I always loved speed, and watching a game recently, Duran hit a pop-up to shortstop, and he ended up in second base.
Yeah. And
it started a big rally for them. That was a great game to watch.
Doubles are better than singles.
Always have to hustle.
Good things happen, Well, Steve, why don't you talk a little bit about the history of the BoSox Club, but maybe before we do that, why don't you both talk a little bit about how you got involved and what you currently do for the club, just in a minute or two.
I got involved about 12 or 13 years ago just as a member. I got invited by a friend of mine who's now past president, Rick Lico, and it just fit with me. I've been a Red Sox fan since about 66. I was 12 in 67, 11 or 12, and that was, that age is a great time for kids to fall in love with baseball, and obviously the 67 team was a great team to fall in love with. What I do now for the club is I've assumed the role of now vice president, but I also I do up the monthly programs for our luncheons and some administrative stuff. Help out with the website and things like that. So it's thankfully I'm retired now, so it's I have a little more time to do that. But keep busy.
What about you, Rich?
I've been a Red Sox fan since the first time I saw a game on television back in the 50s. And in 67, I read about this fabulous club being formed, the BoSox Club. I said, boy, I'd love to do that someday. But love is when your wife buys you a Christmas present one year in 2017, and it's membership in the BoSox Club.
Wow.
And she said, I think you deserve it because Joel Leonard was a friend of hers from Hingham.
Okay.
And so we joined the BoSox Club, and I've been coming ever since and got onto the board of directors. And as far as what do I do, we have an auction at every luncheon. We have an annual auction. We get raffle prizes and autographs, and also we're promoting the club, trying to bring on new membership. We have a Suds and Socks event that we held at Jack Abbey's in Framingham last year, and this year we'll be holding it up in Braintree. Mm-hmm. And we have merchandise, and we love to promote the club and invite more people to come join us.
Steve, why don't you talk a little bit briefly about the history of the club? When it was, I think one of you mentioned it was founded in 1967.
It was, and your show is named Fan to Fan, and it's really about baseball fans, Red Sox fans specifically, but just baseball fans. It was first organized by Bill Crowley, who was the long-term director of public relations for the Sox, and him along with broadcaster Ken Coleman, who actually brought the idea of a fan club like this from Cleveland with him. And former Red Sox Dom DiMaggio was the first president of the club. Ted Lepsio. Some of these names are familiar if you're a long-term fan, and newer folks might not know these names, but they were steeped in Red Sox history. Brad Jernigan was one, and we have an award that we still name after Brad, and each year that we give out to a member of the year. And we all know what happened during the '67 season. So the club was formed just before the '67 season, and obviously the Red Sox took fire during the '67 season, and the club became quite a place to be. I remember as a young person looking at the pictures in the old Herald American or Boston Record of the tables of people at lunch. Mostly it was downtown, so it was mostly business people, and they'd have a player, or actually in '67, Dick Williams brought the whole team to one of the luncheons.
Wow.
And he pledged his support. He went to every luncheon that year. So it grew from there. At one time, over 800 or 900 members. It's dwindled since then because we're not out downtown anymore. It kind of, that luncheon meetings kind of lost their favor. So we're now based a little bit further west. Our luncheons are normally held in Dedham, and we're more of a larger group from anywhere from the North Shore, South Shore that come
The
for
luncheons are about, what,
luncheons.
5 times a year or so?
Luncheons are about 5 times, once a month during the season. And then we have some special events, as Rich just noted.
Well, we'll get into some of the specifics as we go along here. But I think we have a picture, I think, of the current board, and also one of your events in spring training last year, right here. The board is in the back, and some future Red Sox hotshots are in the front. And you've got a ball here.
So we have a ball that's one of our raffle prizes, but those future kids in the front, we have Christopher Troy. His parents were there at spring training, and his younger brother is a heck of a ball player out in California. Next, going to the left, it's Kyle Teal, who is the catcher, and he's ranked as one of our top prospects. Connolly Early, not related to Arnold Early from the 1960 Red Sox, but Connolly's a left-hander. Down in the minors, he's averaging over 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, so he has a future. The next person up there is Kristen Campbell, and he has just been moved up to be one of the top 4 now.
Oh, really?
He's on fire down in the minors, and heck of a nice kid, very quiet, but 6'3" and very fast. Center field, infield.
Energetic
and
board.
then at the very end is my favorite, Chase Mydroth. And Chase plays baseball like an old-time ball player, knocking the ball down with his chest, but he's, they're all in this ball, and this will be auctioned off at our main November.
Chase is in Worcester right now.
He is.
A couple of us saw him play. He has almost as many walks as hits.
He does. He's got like a 480 on base percentage. Heck of a ball player.
Why don't you hold up that ball again, just to show that's got
we
play,
can
some
show
of the
the ball.
autographs
We have
that
the
you
autographs, and if you want to own this ball, take a chance on our annual raffle with the BoSox Club.
That's going to be held later. So we got a quick chart here with some of the membership, with all the membership benefits on. We won't leave that on the screen too long because we're going to start talking to them. But one of the first ones was spring training. That's the chart there. But we'll hit the highlights of them as we move along. But talk a little bit about what happens at spring training.
Spring training is obviously runs from February to end of March. But we have a weekend where we have a special event there where we have we go to the game and we have a cookout afterwards, and that's when the young people are brought over to meet, and we have a meet and greet there and tell stories about where they are, where they come from, and some of the stories are wonderful to hear. I think Rich mentioned the parents were there, Troy's parents were there this year, and that was just great to get that perspective. I just want to point out one thing about membership. While you see gentlemen here in the picture, most of the gentlemen, our president is Debbie Courteau, and we have many women who are members and hardcore Red Sox fans. So I don't want you to think that we're just a bunch of guys getting around talking baseball.
I sat with 3 of them at the last luncheon.
There you go. And they are some of the most rabid fans that we know. So we welcome people of all ages and interests, and as long as you're a baseball fan, you're welcome at the BoSox.
Well, you mentioned luncheons, and so before we get into a little more of some of the specifics, you gave me a nice short video here of some action of what happens at the luncheons. I think that, words are easy, but I think when you see it in person, I think it's even more impressive. So let's run that little clip now, and if you see a few highlights, you can talk over a little bit.
This is our 2023 video, so it's all last year's.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rick Lico. I'm president of the BoSox Club, and I'm happy to welcome you to our 2023 edition in our opening lunch.
Tom Karen was our MC that day.
Team, obviously, with the marathon.
Will Middlebrooks.
And, it was about more than baseball for that team. It was about.
We try to have an alumni and a current player at each of our luncheons.
I was traded over last year. It was, welcomed with open arms, and being with the group with Alex Correia, and obviously getting to work with Jason Merritt every day is an unbelievable treat, and just continuing to learn from him.
First off, thank you very much for this. It's a great honor. It's a great
So Nick
honor
Pavetto was our man of the year
what all
last
you
year,
guys do
or
for
our
you guys.
person of the year,
Part of the
I
reason
should
why,
say. We have
what I do as well.
On
women.
behalf of the Boston
And this
Boston
is,
Fan Club, the BoSox
trophy
Club,
presentation.
it's my
This is
honor and
chosen in
pleasure
every September.
to present to you this Man of the
It's a long
Year
list
Award
of
2023.
Names that everybody would recognize if you're a Red Sox fan. Greg Breslow, the current general manager, was man of the year in 2013. 2013.
Well, great relationship.
One of us.
You know what's incredible about having a
He's
best
a local favorite, Worcester's own,
you have
Framingham's
people
own.
And
that
Framingham.
get an opportunity that they would not get if the team was really
with a
good.
broadcaster
Chris
for the
Sale's
Blue
house,
Sox as well.
Paxton's
Yes,
house,
Tyler Murray,
Crawford,
young
Crawford,
broadcaster.
and you wouldn't even see Pavetta as much as you saw.
I had the opportunity to coach Babe Ruth in Framingham, and Rich was a big help at that time here.
Tommy
Tommy
Harper.
Harper.
Pictures at the lunch are always fun, fans get them. You have military guests here, as
Tommy Harper.
Tommy Harper again. Fans line up, get autographs, pictures. And here we are, back to, so let's talk a little bit about a few of the luncheon hosts that we have, because usually you have a member of the media that introduces the speakers and asks them a few contemporary questions.
So we have many who everybody would know, Dave O'Brien, Dan Roach, and you saw there Joe Castiglione, who will be our host in our July meeting this year, as he goes into the Hall of Fame in July.
There's Joe.
We have Lenny Donato has acted as both player and host. Tom Karen, of course, you saw.
Pete Abraham.
Pete Abraham, a writer for the Globe, was a wonderful host back in May.
Yeah.
And
And then
Yeah.
you also have guests from the military that you guys arranged to bring in. We've got a photo coming up of them.
so each month we honor 3 or 4 members of the military. There you see with Tom Karen and Dave, Mr. Eisenstadt, who's on the left. He actually covers the expenses for us for the military. He probably doesn't want that to be known. He does it anonymously, but he did allow us to take his picture and honor him
Now
at
he's
the
not
April.
anonymous.
Now he's not anonymous, but he's a
Anonymous
wonderful
boy.
man.
Well, thank you.
And helps us honor the military each month.
And of course, the highlight of the day is, of course, the player interviews, current and former players, as you mentioned. And you have an interesting story, Rich, about a bat that we have sitting in front of us here.
Yes. So when I was back in 1966, I went out and bought myself a Louisville Slugger, and it was a Rico Petrocelli Louisville Slugger. And I always said, I used it all through high school and Babe Ruth and never broke it, and I always wanted Rico to sign the bat for me. So he was a guest at one of our luncheons. Not only did he sign the bat, but his picture's behind me, and you may be seeing this picture up close on the screen at some point during the interview too. But Rico holding the bat to me was a great thrill for that 14-year-old self. There he is.
Yeah, right.
And Rico was nothing but complimentary about the bat, and it was better than the one that Yaz used to endorse, is what he told me.
Rico got more hits, though, than you did.
Absolutely.
But you did get some Rico-like hits out of it.
I did. And Rico was a switch hitter for a short while back in
that's
the early
right.
days.
Oh, wow.
So,
Were you both ball players when you were younger, by the way? I'm just curious.
Where I grew up, just really in Sandlot. I played a couple of years of Little
Yeah,
League,
okay,
but it's
yeah.
mostly Sandlot. And you know, back then you'd run neighborhood to neighborhood and have pickup games all summer long. It was,
Yeah.
so that's where we fell in love with baseball.
Yeah.
They play ball in a field, and you know,
Yeah.
the snake was wrapped around the ball. That was fine. It was all wrapped in tape anyway.
Yeah, right. Well, we got another. Of course, autographs are a big piece of the. This is a high value item. Getting an autograph of some of these people. I remember being at one lunch and getting a Pedro there's Casas interviewing a ball. Now, if he goes on to have a Hall of Fame career, his autograph's going to be worth a lot more than what you paid for that luncheon.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It is, but I'm of the I collect a few autographs, mostly from grandkids. But I like to shake their hand, introduce, you know, and meet them. And I think we have some pictures. I know you have a picture with Mookie, and they wouldn't let us have autographs that day because it is such an expensive thing.
The photograph.
Agents will say no, but just the opportunity to talk to them one on one. There's some great kids playing baseball, and
the one-on-one up close with them is a unique opportunity. You just don't get that in this huge media world that these guys live in. I mean, they're almost afraid to go to a restaurant. I mean, they get in Boston here, so to have a personal shot with them is a chance to just. I asked Casas, well, you know, what's the first thing that you see when you're. He said, I don't get a long look at that ball, and he said, I've got to make a decision quick.
And we had Vaughn Grissom earlier, and he's a second baseman.
Right.
And I got to meet him and talk to him. I'm looking up at him. He's about 6'5".
Right.
I said, "You're awful tall for a second baseman." Because when I coached, second basemen were always short. You know, we always the shorter guy would go to second base, like a Dustin Pedroia type. But it's fun to talk to him.
It is fun to get those photos with some of those great guys like Jim Lonberg and who's come a number of times. And of course, one of the highlight days of the year, of course, is Family Day. And we got a picture of that coming up, and that's a real benefit of membership.
Absolutely.
It is. Family Day is everybody who's in the club who wants to get tickets. You're guaranteed 2 tickets, but lately it's been 4 or more tickets available for each member who requests them, and you get to bring the kids along. They get a discussion with the player like this right at Fenway. They get a hot dog and Coke after, and in between we get to stay for the game. So you get up to 4 tickets or more of game tickets, and we're usually in the bleachers, but the kids have a great time, and that's worth the price of joining the BoSox Club. It's actually more than.
Yeah. And how often do you get a chance with your kids to be in the ballpark of only a couple hundred people? You can actually take in the atmosphere and the history of Fenway Park.
Well, especially at 2:30 in the afternoon when the players are doing their pregame drills, you don't see that, and it makes you realize what these guys go through every day. That they're not just showing up at 6 o'clock for a 7:30 game.
No, and they tend to be real generous with baseballs with the kids too.
Yes,
both the Red Sox and visiting teams. It's amazing. Visiting teams kind of get into coming over and
well, the fun thing for me is I brought my grandkids and my son a number of years ago, and you get to sit in the center field bleachers during batting practice when there's only maybe 100 people in the bleachers.
Right.
My son caught a ball right in front of his face on a towering fly ball. I said, "What'd you bring the glove for?" And he said, "That."
Perfect. Yeah.
It's a great day. It's a long day. You get there at 2 o'clock and you're there till 10 or so at night. But, of course, one of the other pluses you had, we showed the merchandise table there before with all kinds of fun stuff there sometimes. Baseballs of former players, and there's one of Jackie Bradley, and hats and shirts. And
yeah, we have our brand of merchandise, merch as they call it, and it's good. If you don't have a ball, you can pick up a ball there and have it signed by the player of the day. And we have shirts and things for the BoSox Club. It's being part of something bigger than yourself, but we're all there because we love baseball. That's the thing that hit me.
Right.
No other reason, just because we all love baseball and particularly the Red Sox.
When you sit at the table, you don't talk about the weather. You're sitting with 6 other people, and
it's all baseball.
And you had better have watched the game the night before. But charities are a big piece of what the club does too. And Rich, you're holding a real piece of treasure here.
This is a bat made for the BoSox Club, especially by Taters. They're a small bat company with about 14 major leaguers, currently using their bat. And the names on this one, we started a collection of. We have 2 bats. One is the 2024 Red Sox, so when they come to our luncheon or at Fenway, they'll sign the bat. And this bat here, you have to be a World Series champion to sign this bat.
Wow.
So we started the collection for you. We have Cabrera on here. We have Johnny Gomes on here. We have Lenny Donato on here. And we'll be adding a few more. And in November, this is one of our auction items. And that money, again, goes towards the Red Sox Foundation and the Jimmy Fund and other venues. And this is a bat that can be acquired at our auction. And it's a one of a kind.
So the club does donate a lot of money to various Red Sox charities and baseball, local charities.
Local charities.
Yeah.
Including for these 2 years we've sponsored through the Red Sox their RBI Foundation baseball team. They took I think it was about 45 or 50 kids to Cooperstown last year, and we sponsored that trip and were able to contribute to that. Prior to that, it was we'd give scholarships to camps and stuff that they would hold, and that's still available. But we get more involved with the young people on our charities, and of course the foundation, Red Sox Foundation, does all sorts of things, and we contribute to them.
Now the BoSox Club isn't part of the so-called Red Sox Nation. It's it's a private club. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Red Sox Nation.
It's a much more impersonal sort of.
Much more impersonal, more corporate
It's
type
bigger,
of thing.
it's, yeah.
But
And national.
and it came out of, I think, groups more out of the teams around the country, more of a Major League Baseball thing. The BoSox Club, like the Wahoo Club in Cleveland, all kind of grew out of fans getting together, as we talked about. So it's really more organically grown and more fun, I think.
And then each year you have some different kinds of special events. You talked about the one in Framingham and the one in Braintree. That's going to be when in October?
That's going to be October 17th, and that's a special day in Red Sox history.
Oh?
Because October 17th, 2004 is the very first game we came back against the Yankees. So we chose that night specifically to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the greatest comeback ever. And as our featured speaker, we've invited Dan Shaughnessy, who had his headline all written for the next morning's paper. And there, for the 86th consecutive year, the Red Sox will not be world champions.
That was my saddest night as a fan. I was in the freezing cold bleachers, and I'll never forget that. I said, this may be my last Red Sox game, because they got hammered by the Yankees in Game 3.
Game 3, yeah.
Wakefield saved the bullpen.
He did,
Yep.
yes. So, but I think there's also a couple other annual meetings that you have. You have one where you honor all the youth sports in New England.
Youth and amateur sports.
And amateur sports.
Yes, and that comes in October, November. It'll be November meeting. We honor the top collegiate clubs. Boston University has owned the softball trophy in that through women's softball.
Cape Cod League champion.
Cape Cod League champion. The
Boston
Bourne Braves
City
were
League.
there the last couple of years. The City League, the Yawkey League, and also
softball.
the state champions Little League team and Babe Ruth teams. So.
At last year's
high school.
At last year's event, we had a Pedro Martinez jersey that we were part of our big auction.
Yeah.
And this guy came up and said, listen, I need to buy that jersey from you. And I said, I can't sell it. It's part of our auction. And he said, but you don't understand. He said, I used to be a catcher in the Mets minor league system, and I caught Pedro when he rehabbed for us back in the day. So you're sitting at your lunch table, you have no idea who you're talking to. And he wanted that jersey, but
he didn't win the auction.
He didn't win the auction.
Well, he should have bought 1,000 tickets.
He should have.
Okay, well, the club you mentioned is looking to build members, and I know for years I thought I had to be asked to become a member. All you need right now is a check for less than $100, right?
For $99, and you can actually go on our website and sign up there.
The website, what might that be? I bet you'd like to tell me.
I would like to tell you, and I don't want to get it wrong. It's BoSoxClub.org, www.BoSoxClub.org, or just Google BoSox Club and make sure it gets to that one, because sometimes the Red Sox stuff comes up on there.
That's BoSox. That name's always interested me. A lot of people, when I say BoSox, what does that mean? Is it about a boating club or something? Obviously it's the Boston Sox as contrasted with the Chi Sox. Right?
Absolutely, or the Woo Sox.
Why didn't they call it the Red Sox Club?
I don't know. But it's one of those, the kids would say now, if you know, you know, right?
If you know, you know. If you got to be told what the BoSox are, you probably don't know.
But we'll welcome you, and we'll certainly educate you on what it is.
Absolutely.
And I think you have a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Let's see. We talked about. Do you have any other luncheons besides? Well, you talked about the evening event, other than middays. Is that something that's an issue? Having the lunches at midday. I know for years I couldn't go because I was working, and
We've talked about that, and I know Rich and I are vice presidents now, and as we've talked a little bit about as we move up, what we might do there a little bit differently. There's a call for having some luncheons potentially up at the North Shore, so people have less travel distance and more and less. So we balance it off a little bit. So we're open to new ideas, and we're trying to make the club a little bit more user-friendly, if you will, because people are working. I happen to be lucky. When I was working in Norwood. I could take 2 hours off, go to lunch, and be back at my desk. So, but that's not true of everybody, and we'd certainly like that.
And the other thing too, Steve and I have been going on the circuit. We're invited to a group of different Rotaries to speak, and we'll talk to your organization if you want to reach out to us. We've been to Hudson for dinner. We've been to Fitchburg for lunch, and we've been to Andover for breakfast. So wherever you are in the state, we have wheels. We'll travel, and we'll talk about the Red Sox. And
I know a few years ago we had a table that was successful up at that great memorabilia auction they have in Wilmington every year, and I think that's in November. And sports card events.
But we'll bring a few goodies to give away too on our raffles and stuff, and it's a fun time, and we've done Rotary and other service clubs, and we certainly welcome invitations from.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground. The BoSox Club, I know, it's always fun when I have a guest on my show for an organization that I've been a part of, as contrasted if I'm having whereas contrasted if I have somebody that's from somebody like the so the skating club or something. I have to really work to understand what they're going. And in this case, I can personally testify to the value of a membership in this. It's a lot of fun if you're a baseball fan, and especially if you're a Red Sox, even if you're not a Red Sox fan. But if you're a baseball fan, this is a fun day, and it's a nice lunch, and it's a kind of a program that you just won't find anywhere. So both you guys, thank you for carrying on the good work. 57 years now, I guess. I think
57 now.
And Steve, Rich, thank you for all you do, and I guess you'll be the president here in the next couple of years ahead.
In a couple of years, Debbie's a 2-year term.
We're in no rush.
Debbie Carteau is in her first year at this point.
First year this year.
It's a 2-year term, right? So. Okay, so we can run this show for a while and still be current.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you all for tuning in and watching Fan to Fan on Public Access TV and on YouTube. I'm Dave Hornfischer. We do this show Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays on Access Framingham, but we also put it on YouTube, and some of the other stations around the Public Access TV network pick it up. So thanks for watching, and get out and check into BoSoxClub.org.
BoSoxClub.org. BoSoxClub.org.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Good night.